In the cold darkness of space, far beyond the mapped zones, the Zeroth Empire's fleet floated in silence. Their scanners searched the endless void for signs of life or danger. The commander, Varen Thel, stood on the bridge of the lead ship, watching the stars drift like frozen dust. Everything was calm, until a strange signal appeared on the main screen. It was weak at first, like a whisper lost in static. The technicians adjusted the frequency, trying to clear the noise. Suddenly the signal sharpened into a pulse that echoed through every ship in the fleet. A message of unknown origin flashed across the monitors. It said only one word: human. The crew froze. Humans were a name from old war stories, creatures who once ruled the stars and then vanished. The Zeroth Empire had searched every corner of the galaxy, finding no trace of them. Yet now, after 500 years, their scanners showed a human signal coming from the Dead Zone, a region no one dared to enter. Commander Varen frowned. The Dead Zone was a graveyard of lost ships, a place where light itself seemed to disappear. Many fleets had gone in and never returned, but curiosity was stronger than fear. He ordered the fleet to move closer. Engines roared softly as massive ships slid through the void like shadows. The deeper they went, the darker space became. Stars faded one by one until nothing was left but blackness. The signal grew stronger. The crew felt uneasy. Some said they heard faint whispers through the comms, like voices calling their names. The technicians checked their helmets, thinking it was interference. But the voices kept repeating the same word: return. Suddenly one of the pilots shouted. Something was ahead, huge and still. The scanners tried to read it, but every system began to glitch. Numbers scrambled across the screens. One moment it showed a small object, the next it showed something larger than a planet. The ship lights flickered. Then out of the darkness a shape appeared, a metallic shadow stretching across the stars. Its surface was broken and covered in old scars, but a faded symbol could still be seen, the mark of the Terran fleet. The bridge went silent. Every soldier on board knew what that symbol meant. It was the sign of humanity's warships, built long before the Zeroth Empire even existed. The old stories said these ships had the power to destroy entire worlds. Yet this one drifted quietly, cold and dead. Is it active? Varen asked in a low voice. No energy detected, Commander, replied the science officer. It looks abandoned. Varen studied the massive warship through the view window. It looked asleep, but something about it felt alive. He ordered a closer approach. The moment their ship entered the range of the human vessel, every scanner shut down at once. The screens turned black. The technician's hands shook as he tried to restart the system. Commander, our instruments are not responding. It's like the ship refuses to be scanned. Then the lights dimmed. The comms filled with static again. Through the static, a deep voice spoke in old Terran language, a language no alien had heard for centuries. Identify yourself. The crew looked at each other in shock. The translator worked slowly, repeating the message in Zeroth language. Commander Varen straightened his back. This is Commander Varen Thal of the Zeroth Empire. We come in peace. No answer came. The silence stretched. Then a single light flickered on the surface of the warship, a red beam that slowly rotated, scanning their fleet. Commander, that light. It's locking onto us, said the pilot. Before Varen could respond, the massive warship powered up. One by one, ancient engines came to life. Blue energy flowed through the cracks in its hull. The old ship turned its front toward the alien fleet. Retreat, Varen ordered at once. But it was too late. Their ships would not move. Every system was frozen, as if something had taken control. On the monitors, strange lines of code appeared, moving too fast to read. Then the alien ships began to drift toward the human warship without using engines. It was pulling them closer with invisible force. Inside the bridge, alarms rang. The crew panicked, trying to break free. Commander Varen gripped the edge of the console, watching helplessly as the old Terran warship opened its hangar doors. Inside was nothing but darkness, and then the voice returned. Louder this time. Calm. Human. You should not have come here. The moment those words echoed, all power in the Zeroth fleet went out. Lights, engines, weapons, everything died in silence. The only sound left was the steady pulse of the mysterious signal that had lured them there. Through the window, the massive warship's lights formed a single symbol, the ancient insignia of Earth. The crew realized the truth too late. The ship was not a ghost. It was a guardian, and something inside it was still watching. The darkness around them began to move. Other shapes appeared, hundreds, maybe thousands of similar warships waking from the shadows. The last thing Commander Varen saw before the lights on his bridge faded was a single message flashing across the screen. Project Eternity, humanity still defends. The Zeroth fleet drifted helplessly in the black. Silence of the dead zone. No power, no movement. Only the pulse of the human signal echoing through every deck. Commander Varen stood in the darkness, the faint red emergency light casting long shadows across the bridge. His officers worked in panic, trying to restart the engines, but nothing responded. It was as if an unseen force had locked the ships in place. Then, without warning, the main screen came alive. Static flickered, then cleared, showing the massive Terran warship still facing them. Its dark metal body glowed faintly with blue light, spreading across its hull like veins awakening after a long sleep. "Commander, power readings are rising inside the human ship," the technician whispered. "It's reactivating itself." Varen clenched his fists. "How is that possible?" "That ship is 5 centuries old." Before anyone could answer, another signal broke through. It was the same deep voice as before, cold and calm. "Unauthorized presence detected. You are entering restricted human territory." The crew froze. The message repeated, stronger each time, like a warning from a ghost refusing to rest. Then the scanners flickered back for a moment, revealing a shocking image. More shapes emerging from the dark behind the first ship. "Commander, there are others," the pilot said, his voice trembling. "Hundreds of them." Out of the blackness, gigantic warships began to move. Their metal bodies were ancient but shining. Dust and broken asteroids drifted off their hulls as they powered up one after another, forming a massive formation. It was like a sleeping army of the dead rising again. "The Ghost Fleet," whispered an old officer, staring at the screen. "The humans built it to protect their final colonies. But it was never found. Now it was found." The fleet of the Zeroth Empire tried to open communications, but their signals were blocked. The human ships transmitted on every frequency at once. A final message appeared in bold letters across the bridge screens. "This is humanity's final defense protocol. Leave or be erased," Commander Varen tried to reason. "We mean no harm. We only followed the signal." But the voice replied once more. No signal was sent. "You were warned to stay away." At that moment, the void itself seemed to shift. A wave of invisible energy passed through the alien ships. Systems flickered back to life for a few seconds, enough to see what surrounded them. Thousands of human warships forming a perfect circle around the Zeroth fleet. Every one of them aimed directly at the aliens. "They've trapped us," said the science officer, fear in her eyes. Varen took a deep breath. "If they wanted us dead, they would have fired already." He turned toward the view window. "Maybe they want to talk." As if responding to his thought, the lead human warship sent a video feed. The bridge filled with a glowing hologram, the image of a man in an old Terran uniform. His face was pale, his eyes bright blue but lifeless, like a memory trapped in code. "I am Captain Arik Kane," the figure said slowly, "Commander of the Terran Defense Fleet. Identify yourself." "I am Varen Thal of the Zeroth Empire," Varen replied. "We believed humanity was gone." The hologram tilted its head. "Gone? Humanity does not vanish. It endures." Before Varen could ask anything, the hologram flickered. The human captain looked past him, as if scanning every ship in the alien fleet. "You have entered sacred ground. The ashes of Earth's defenders rest here. Leave now or face the same end." The hologram vanished. The communication officer turned, pale and shaking. "Commander, our engines are back online." Varen didn't wait. All ships, reverse course. Move out of the dead zone. The fleet began to turn slowly, but something strange happened. The human warships shifted formation, moving along with them, keeping the same distance, silent, watchful. "They're escorting us," the pilot said quietly, as they moved away. One of the smaller alien ships tried to scan the ghost fleet one last time. The instant the scan activated, the human warships reacted. Every scanner in the alien fleet exploded with white light. The communications officer screamed, "Our systems are overloading." Then the lights went out again. The entire Zeroth fleet floated, blind and powerless. When the systems restarted seconds later, the ghost fleet was gone. The radar showed nothing, only stars. The signal had vanished, but on the main screen, one final message blinked before fading into darkness. "Humanity still defends. Return only if you seek war." Commander Varen sat in silence. No one spoke. Every soul on board felt the same thing. They had seen the dead awaken. In the cold silence of space, the legend of the ghost fleet had become real. And somewhere, hidden among the stars, more of those ancient warships were waiting. The Zeroth fleet was in chaos. Every ship moved in confusion, their systems flickering from the strange interference that still clung to them like a shadow. Commander Varen sat in the command chair, his eyes fixed on the dead radar. He could still hear the words repeating in his mind, "Humanity still defends." The crew tried to stabilize the systems, but nothing worked for long. One moment the scanners showed empty space. The next they flashed with hundreds of false readings. Ghost signals appeared and disappeared every few seconds. "Commander," the science officer said, her voice shaking, "our scanners are lying. They show objects that are not there." Varen turned slowly. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "Completely. It's like something inside our systems is rewriting the data." On another screen, shapes flickered, massive warships surrounding them again. The crew gasped. But when they looked through the view window, there was nothing. Just darkness and distant stars. "Scanners offline," said the pilot, pulling off his headset. "We can't trust what we see anymore." Then, from the static of the comms, a faint voice broke through, soft, human, calm. "You should not have ignored the warning." The bridge fell silent. "Who is this?" Varen demanded. No answer. Only whispers filled the speakers, like hundreds of overlapping voices. Some sounded like men, some like women, some almost mechanical. They all repeated one phrase over and over: "We remember." Suddenly, the entire fleet's lighting system turned blood red. Alarms began to ring, though no one knew why. On every screen appeared a single line of text: "Final Defense Protocol, active." "Commander, what does that mean?" The pilot shouted. Varen stared at the message. "It means they are preparing to fight." Outside the window, streaks of blue light began to appear in the distance. The ghost fleet was back. Thousands of Terran warships emerged from the darkness like a storm. Their engines glowed with silent fire. The alien crews froze, knowing they were surrounded again. "Activate shields," Varen ordered. "Trying, Commander." "They're not responding. It's like something is controlling them remotely." Varen clenched his jaw. "They are inside our systems." The ghost fleet moved closer, their formation perfect, cold, and disciplined. Then, without warning, the alien fleet's communication channels burst to life again. A single voice spoke, the same human tone from before, deep and calm. "We remember the war. We remember the screams. We remember the fire. You are not forgiven." Then the scanners went completely dead. Every radar, every display, every signal, gone. The entire Zeroth fleet floated blind in the dark. The pilot whispered, "Commander, I can't see anything. We've lost all visuals." Then came the light. A pulse of bright blue energy exploded from the center of the ghost fleet. It was silent at first, then grew until it filled the entire dead zone. The energy passed through every alien ship. Systems burned, circuits melted, engines stopped. One by one, the ships went dark. Inside the command deck, the crew screamed as controls sparked. Varen gripped his chair tightly, refusing to panic. "Shut down all power. Maybe it will stop the overload." The technician followed the command, and for a brief moment silence returned. No sound, no light. No movement, only the heartbeat of fear. Then the deep voice returned again, whispering through the darkness. Humanity does not die. Humanity watches. Humanity remembers. Varen could feel it. This was not hatred. It was judgment. The Ghost Fleet was not attacking in rage. It was defending something sacred. A faint glow appeared on the main screen again. Among the static, the image of an old Earth appeared. Blue oceans, white clouds, and green continents. A hologram projection from the human ships. The crew stared at it in silence. None of them had seen the real Earth before, only stories. The image pulsed slowly, as if alive. Then a final line of text appeared below it. You brought war to the grave of our world. We will not allow it again. And then the image vanished. Slowly, power returned to the alien fleet. Their engines flickered back to life, though half the systems were still dead. When the scanners finally restarted, the Ghost Fleet was gone once again. But before they could breathe in relief, one small object appeared on the radar, a single human probe. Drifting toward them, it carried a message. The technician hesitated, then played it. The deep voice spoke one more time. We remember your kind, Zeroth. Leave this place. The next signal will not be a warning. Then the probe exploded, sending a harmless flash of light across space, a warning shot. Commander Varen sat in silence. The entire bridge was quiet. Every crew member felt the same chill running through their veins. They had faced something beyond their understanding, the ghosts of humanity's past. And somewhere in the dark, those ships were still watching, waiting for the next intruder. The dead zone was silent again. The Zeroth fleet drifted near the ruins of forgotten worlds, their engines weak, their courage weaker. Commander Varen stood at the center of the bridge, staring at the fading light where the Ghost Fleet had vanished. His crew spoke in whispers, afraid even of their own voices. Commander, said the science officer softly, one of the human ships remains. It's not moving, Varen turned. Can we approach it? Yes, but it's risky. The others might return if we get too close, he thought for a long moment. Curiosity burned inside him stronger than fear. Prepare a small scout team. I need to know what we're dealing with. Soon, a small transport ship broke away from the fleet and drifted toward the silent Terran warship. Its surface was blackened, covered with centuries of dust. Faded letters were still visible on the hull, TFS Vigilance. The ship looked ancient, but something about it felt alive, as if it was waiting. When the scout team docked, the doors opened with a long, hollow hiss. The air was stale, filled with the scent of metal and age. They entered slowly, lights flashing across endless corridors. Human technology surrounded them, cold, perfect, untouched. This ship hasn't been entered for centuries, one soldier whispered. At the end of the corridor, they found a door marked Command Deck. It slid open with surprising ease. Inside, rows of control chairs stood in silence. The crew that once sat there were still in place, skeletons wrapped in old Terran uniforms, frozen in time. The alien soldiers stepped closer. Dust floated in the light. On the front console, a faint blue glow appeared. A recording started to play. A hologram flickered to life, the face of a human officer speaking calmly as explosions echoed behind him. This is Captain Elias Thorne of the Terran fleet. If you see this, humanity has fallen. But our defense will not. The team watched as images flashed across the hologram, great battles in the stars, burning cities, human ships fighting alien empires. They came for Earth, the recording continued, and we refused to kneel. We built the Ghost Fleet, an eternal guard. Even in death, humanity defends. The screen went dark. The aliens stood frozen, unable to speak. Suddenly the floor trembled. A low hum filled the air, and the ship's systems began to awaken. Lights flickered along the walls. The door behind them sealed shut. Commander, the ship's waking up, shouted one soldier over the comms. Varen's voice came through sharply. Get out of there now! But it was too late. The ship had already recognized the intruders. A cold, mechanical voice spoke through the speakers. Foreign species detected. Intrusion in restricted zone. Defense sequence active. The control panels lit up with ancient code. The skeletal remains of the human crew sat still, their empty eyes reflecting the red warning lights. The alien team ran back through the halls, but the corridors began to change. Metal doors slid shut behind them, trapping them one by one. The leader of the scout team, Lieutenant Zar, reached the docking bay alone. The ship's AI voice followed him. "You should not have disturbed them. They rest in honor." Zar turned, breathing heavily. "We came to understand, not to harm," the voice replied with eerie calm. "Understanding comes with remembrance." A flash of light filled the room. When Zar opened his eyes again, he was standing in a holographic projection. Around him stretched a view of Earth, green forests, blue oceans, white clouds. He saw children playing, cities shining under sunlight. He saw humanity alive. Then the image changed. Fire, war. The sky turned red. Human ships fought until they burned. The cities fell. And yet, in the middle of destruction, the people stood together, refusing to surrender. The AI's voice whispered in his ear. They fought for their home until the end. Would you do the same? Zar fell to his knees. The vision ended. The room was empty again. The ship was quiet. Moments later, the docking bay doors opened on their own. The Terran warship released the small scout vessel, sending it drifting back toward the Zeroth fleet. When the survivors returned, only Lieutenant Zar remained conscious. His face was pale, his eyes wide with shock. Commander Varen met him on the deck. What happened in there? Zar looked at him slowly. They're not gone, Commander. They're waiting. Waiting for what? For the next war, Zar whispered. For the next threat to Earth. Their machines still dream of their home. Varen turned toward the dark void where the ghost fleet had disappeared. The words echoed in his mind like thunder. Even in death, humanity defends. The commander finally understood. The ghost fleet was not just an army. It was a memory, a promise that the stars themselves would never forget the world that gave them life. And somewhere, deep within the endless black, the ancient warships stirred once more, as if the memory of Earth had awakened them again. The silence after the scout mission did not last long. Word of the ghost fleet reached the Zeroth Empire within days. The story spread like wildfire. Ancient human warships guarding the dead zone, destroying everything that dared to enter. Some called them machines, others called them ghosts. But everyone agreed on one thing. They were unstoppable. In the capital world of Zeroth Prime, the Emperor gathered his war council. Thousands of ships had been lost, and the Empire's pride was wounded. "We cannot allow this myth to grow," the Emperor declared. "If these old human machines control that sector, they must be destroyed." So began the largest military operation in the Empire's history. Operation Eclipse. 10,000 warships armed with the strongest weapons ever built were sent to erase the ghost fleet from existence. Commander Varen, still shaken by what he had seen, was ordered to guide the first assault wave. He wanted to refuse, but disobedience meant death. Deep inside, he knew this mission was suicide. The fleet entered the dead zone with a roar of engines. Every scanner, every radar was focused. They expected shadows and whispers, but for the first few hours there was nothing. Just silence, then the signal returned. A single pulse, slow, calm, familiar. "This is restricted Terran space. Leave immediately." The pilots looked at each other in fear. Varen closed his eyes. "We are too late," he whispered. On the edge of their scanners, faint blue lights appeared, thousands of them surrounding the Zeroth fleet from all directions. The ghost fleet had awakened once more. "Form defense lines," Varen ordered. "Prepare for combat." The first wave of alien ships fired. Beams of energy tore through the void, striking the human warships. For a brief second, the stars lit up like lightning. But when the light faded, the ghost fleet still stood untouched. The next moment, the void exploded. Every Terran warship came alive at once. Ancient cannons opened along their hulls. Beams of white fire shot across space, silent and precise. Entire enemy formations vanished before they could react. The Zeroth ships tried to retreat, but their scanners failed again. The ghost fleet moved like a single mind. No hesitation, no mercy. Every human weapon hit perfectly. Every alien shield collapsed in seconds. "Commander, our defense is breaking," the pilot shouted. Varen stared at the main screen. The human ships glowed brighter with every shot. They were not fighting for victory. They were executing a command written centuries ago. "You brought war to our grave," the voice spoke again. "Now you will learn why humans ruled the stars." A massive Terran dreadnought advanced through the fire, larger than any ship the Zeroth had ever built. Its engines burned with blue flame. On its side, the name could still be read, TFS Eternity. It fired once. A single beam cut through 5 alien ships as if they were made of dust. The explosion spread across the battlefield like a wave. The Zeroth soldiers screamed through the comms. "We cannot fight them. Our systems are collapsing." Varen gritted his teeth. "Pull back!" All ships retreat to safe distance. But the retreat was impossible. The Ghost Fleet surrounded them completely. The alien fleet's formation fell apart. Every communication line went silent one by one as the Terran warships moved forward, relentless. The sky burned with the light of destruction. In minutes, thousands of Zeroth ships were gone, and then silence. The human ships stopped firing. The battlefield was filled with floating wreckage and drifting bodies. Only a few alien ships survived, including Varen's command vessel. A single transmission came through from the TFS Eternity. "The lesson is complete. Leave this space. Never return." The message was calm, not angry. It sounded almost sorrowful. Commander Varen stared at the screen. "Why?" he whispered. "Why defend a dead world?" The voice replied one last time. "Because it is not dead. Humanity sleeps, but we remember their promise to defend until they return." The communication ended. The Ghost Fleet began to withdraw, their engines fading into the darkness. As the surviving Zeroth ships drifted away, Varen looked at the wreckage around him. Entire fleets erased in moments. The power he had just witnessed was not rage or hatred, it was faith. Faith in something long gone but never forgotten. In the silence that followed, he made a vow. "We will never enter their space again," he said quietly. "Let the dead keep their peace." But deep inside, he knew the truth. The humans were not truly dead. Their machines still watched the stars, and their memory still lived, and somewhere, beyond the darkness of the dead zone, the TFS Eternity turned its guns toward the galaxy, waiting for the next enemy to awaken it again. The destruction of the Zeroth fleet spread across the galaxy like a storm. Every empire, every colony, every traveler in the stars heard the same chilling rumor. The humans have returned. But no one believed it at first. How could the dead return? How could ships from 5 centuries ago still fight with such power? Yet as weeks passed, strange signals began to appear across different star systems. Old human frequencies, unknown coordinates, warnings written in ancient Terran code. Everywhere the signals appeared, alien fleets disappeared. No survivors, no wreckage, only silence and static. On a remote observation station far from any empire, a group of scientists monitored one of these strange signals. Dr. Calm, a researcher from the Orion Union, stared at the data streaming across the console. "It's the same code that came from the dead zone," he said. "But this time, it's coming from 3 different systems at once." His assistant frowned. 3? That's impossible. "The signal can't be in 3 places at the same time." Dr. Cal leaned closer to the screen. "Unless there are more of them." He was right. Across the galaxy, more hidden fleets awakened. Human warships buried on forgotten moons powered up again. Massive defense stations hidden inside asteroids came online. Satellites older than any known civilization began transmitting the same message. Humanity will rise again. Until then, we defend. The empires panicked. The Zeroth Emperor ordered the destruction of every system connected to the signal, but it was useless. The more they attacked, the more signals appeared. Entire space routes were suddenly blocked by invisible walls of energy. Merchant ships vanished without a trace. Navigation systems began to fail near old Terran battlefields. It was as if the galaxy itself was remembering its lost masters. Meanwhile, Commander Varen sat in silence inside his ship, staring at the recording from his last battle. The image of the TFS Eternity haunted him. He replayed the final message again and again. "Humanity sleeps, but we remember their promise to defend until they return." Those words echoed in his mind like a prophecy. He began to study old human archives, searching for any trace of where they might have gone. But most of the data was locked or corrupted. Only one file remained clear, a map showing dozens of sealed coordinates across the Milky Way, marked with the same phrase, Project Eternity. While the alien empires feared the Ghost Fleet, something stranger began to happen among smaller species. On distant planets, people started worshipping the Terran warships as divine guardians. They built temples under the night sky, carving human faces into stone. They called them the Watchers of the Stars. To many, humanity became a legend, protectors who had sacrificed everything to keep balance in the galaxy. But to others, they were a threat waiting to awaken again. In the heart of the Zeroth Empire, the Emperor gathered his council once more. "The humans are spreading their influence even in death," he said angrily. "We must destroy every trace of them before they return." But his top scientist shook his head. "Your Majesty, that is impossible. The signals are not just messages. They are part of a living network. The more we attack, the stronger it becomes. It's like the galaxy itself is carrying their memory." Suddenly, alarms rang through the council chamber. The lights dimmed. Every screen in the room lit up with one symbol. A blue earth surrounded by a silver ring. A deep human voice echoed through every channel. "We warned you once. Do not test our patience." Across the Empire's space, fleets vanished again. Whole armadas were erased without a single shot being fired. It was as if the Ghost Fleet had learned to strike through space itself. And then something new happened. In the Orion Nebula, explorers found a massive structure hidden behind layers of gas and radiation. A perfect sphere made of metal pulsing with energy. When they scanned it, the system returned one word: origin. The scientists believed it was the birthplace of the Ghost Fleet, the heart of Project Eternity. But no one dared to approach it. The last time a probe got close, it vanished without a trace, leaving behind a single message: the Guardians never sleep. Commander Varen watched the chaos unfold. Every part of him wanted to understand, to know why these ancient machines still fought. But a part of him already knew. Humanity had left something behind, not just machines, but a memory that could not die. And now that memory was spreading like fire through the stars. In the darkness of space, the signals grew stronger. More and more human voices whispered through the static. Some sounded real, some sounded like echoes. But all spoke the same words: "We are coming home." The stars began to flicker, as if the galaxy itself was preparing for something great. The Ghost Fleet was no longer a legend. It was a warning. And soon, the entire universe would learn what it truly meant when humans said, "We defend." The stars above the dead zone were silent again, but the silence no longer felt empty. The galaxy trembled with fear and awe. Every empire had felt the reach of the Ghost Fleet. Every ruler whispered the same name in dread: humanity. But somewhere deep within the darkness, hidden behind layers of energy fields and ancient wreckage, one ship remained motionless: the TFS Eternity. Its engines were cold, its guns silent, yet its systems still hummed with quiet life. Inside the core chamber of the great ship, a single cryopod began to glow. Its lights flickered like a heartbeat waking after centuries. The frozen mist cleared, and inside, a human man slowly opened his eyes. Captain Arik Kane, last commander of Project Eternity, gasped as air filled his lungs. His breath shook. His mind was blank, lost between centuries of dreams and memories. The pod released him gently, lowering him onto the metallic floor. "Status," he whispered, his voice weak. A soft voice replied, calm, loyal, mechanical. "Captain Arik Kane, you have been reactivated. Time elapsed, 512 years. Humanity is gone." Arik closed his eyes. He had feared this. "Then the fleet still followed the directive?" "Yes, Captain," the AI said. "The defense protocol continues. We have defended your worlds as you commanded." Arik looked around. The control room was dim, the consoles coated with dust. Yet every system still worked, waiting for him. On the main screen, thousands of blue lights blinked across the galaxy, the active warships of the Ghost Fleet. He stared in silence. "So we never stopped," the AI responded softly. "No, Captain. Humanity's promise was eternal." Arik walked slowly toward the main window. Beyond it, the stars glowed faintly through the void. In that endless darkness, he could almost feel them. The ships that had fought, the soldiers who had died, the world they once called home. "Show me Earth," he said. The AI projected an image. The blue planet appeared on the screen, still beautiful, still alive. Oceans shimmered, clouds swirled, continents glowed in sunlight. But around it, hundreds of Terran defense platforms floated silently, protecting the cradle of mankind. Tears filled Arik's eyes. "You kept it safe." "For 5 centuries, the AI replied. "Many came to claim it. None succeeded." Arik smiled faintly, the first real smile in ages. "Good. Humanity will need it when we return." He turned toward the console and opened the fleet communication channel. Across the galaxy, every warship, every satellite, every hidden outpost received his voice. "This is Captain Arik Kane of the Terran Defense Fleet," he said, his tone strong again. "The long night is over. The dead have guarded the stars long enough. It is time for humanity to rise again." For a moment, silence followed. Then one by one, the ships of the Ghost Fleet responded. Engines ignited across the darkness. Lights flickered to life. The endless armada began to move, not to fight, but to return home. Across distant worlds, alien sensors picked up massive energy readings. The ancient human warships were gathering, forming a formation not seen for centuries. Entire sectors watched as the sky filled with blue light. In the command ship, Arik looked out into the stars. "Prepare the coordinates," he said quietly. "Set course for Earth." The AI hesitated. "And what of the alien empires, Captain? They fear you. They will try to stop your return." Arik's gaze hardened. "Then let them watch. Let them see who we are." The engines of the TFS Eternity roared to life, shaking the void. The Ghost Fleet began to move as one, vanishing into hyperspace, leaving behind trails of blue fire that painted the darkness like starlight. On the nearby alien worlds, people ran to the skies, watching in awe as thousands of human ships passed above them. Silent, unstoppable, beautiful. Some knelt and prayed, others hid in fear. But all of them felt the same thing. The humans were coming back. In his command chair, Arik whispered to himself, 500 years of silence. 500 years of waiting. Let the galaxy remember why they once feared us. The fleet jumped to light speed. The stars stretched into long lines of white. Far away, on the surface of Earth, ancient systems buried deep beneath the crust began to awaken. Cities long abandoned started to glow with soft blue light. The planet itself seemed to sense the return of its children. When the Ghost Fleet arrived, they did not come with fire or war. They came in silence, their ships forming a perfect ring around Earth. For the first time in centuries, the homeworld of humanity was alive again. Arik stood before the window, looking down at the world below. His heart felt heavy yet full of hope. "We are home," he said quietly, "and we will never sleep again." The camera of the universe seemed to pull back. The glowing blue planet surrounded by silver ships, the stars shining brighter than ever before. A single heartbeat echoed through the void. Then a final transmission spread across the galaxy, heard by every empire, every species, every world. Humanity has returned, and the stars, silent witnesses of everything, seemed to shine a little brighter, as if they too remembered the name of the species that once ruled them all.